How much would it take for you to walk out of this restaurant tonight and never come back? Nathan Cole asked, sliding a blank check across the white tablecloth. The laughter around him faded before the check stopped moving. Emily Carter stood beside the table with a coffee pot in one hand and an order pad in the other. 28. Blonde hair tied neatly behind her head. White shirt. Black apron. The uniform of someone Nathan had noticed only because his friends needed a subject for their argument. She looked at the check, then at him. Nathan was 39, founder of Cole Strategic Holdings, and wealthy enough that business magazines had stopped estimating his fortune with precision. Tonight, he occupied the private dining room of Bellamy House in Manhattan with 3 senior executives, 2 bottles of expensive wine, and the confidence of a man accustomed to turning opinions into facts. Their dinner conversation had started with hiring, then loyalty, then money. Nathan's position was simple. Everyone had a price. Enough money, he had said, tapping his Swiss watch. And people show you who they really are. One executive disagreed. Another laughed. Then Emily entered to refill their coffee. Nathan saw an opportunity to prove his point. He tore a blank check from the small business checkbook he still carried for private transactions, signed it, and pushed it toward her. I am serious, he said. Write any reasonable number. $10,000. $20,000. Whatever makes tonight your last shift. Emily did not reach for the check. Behind Nathan, Manhattan glittered through tall windows, thousands of lights suspended against the dark November sky. Somewhere beyond the private room, silverware touched porcelain and a piano played softly near the main bar. Why? Emily asked. Nathan smiled. Why what? Why do you want me to quit? One of the executives chuckled. He does not. It is a test. Emily glanced toward him, then returned her attention to Nathan. A test of what? Whether everyone has a number. Nathan leaned back. You tell me yours. Emily set the coffee pot carefully on the service table. Her face showed neither embarrassment nor excitement. That was the first thing Nathan had not expected. Most people reacted to large amounts of money before they reacted to the question attached to it. Emily seemed more interested in the question. And if I take it? She asked. You leave tonight. No notice. No coming back tomorrow. And you think that tells you who I am? I think choices reveal people. Emily nodded slowly, as though considering an argument rather than an offer. Nathan's smile widened. He believed she was calculating now. Rent. Bills. A car. Maybe a vacation she had never taken. He had seen that look before. Or thought he had. Emily finally touched the check, but instead of pulling it toward herself, she turned it around and pushed it back across the table. All right, she said. Nathan raised an eyebrow. All right, what? Emily looked directly into his blue eyes. Her voice remained soft enough that everyone leaned closer to hear it. How much would it take for you to walk out of your company tomorrow and never come back? Nobody laughed. Nathan's fingers stopped against the edge of his coffee cup. That is different. Why? Because I built my company. And you assume I have built nothing because I am carrying coffee? The question was calm. No accusation. Somehow that made it heavier. Nathan glanced at the blank check between them. For the first time all evening, he did not have an immediate answer. Emily picked up the coffee pot. Maybe everyone does have a number, Mr. Cole, she said. But before you ask for mine, you should know what you are actually trying to buy. Then she walked out of the private dining room, leaving the signed blank check untouched beneath Nathan's hand. The executives remained silent. The piano continued beyond the door. Nathan looked down at the check, then toward the hallway where Emily had disappeared. He had chosen a waitress because he thought the test would be easy. Instead, with one question, she had made him wonder whether he had ever understood the test at all. Emily returned 7 minutes later carrying 4 dessert plates, as if nothing unusual had happened. Nathan noticed immediately. She did not glance at the blank check. She did not ask whether his offer still stood. She placed a slice of chocolate cake before one executive, lemon tart before another, and black coffee beside Nathan with the same measured professionalism she had shown before he turned her shift into an experiment. Anything else, gentlemen? She asked. Nathan looked at the check near his hand. You never answered me. Emily met his eyes. I answered the question you should have asked. One executive lowered his fork, suddenly fascinated by his dessert. Nathan leaned back. $10,000. Emily remained still. That is my offer. Cash equivalent, if you prefer. You leave tonight and never work here again. Why 10,000? Because it is enough to matter. To whom? Nathan paused. Most people. Emily nodded. Then test most people. She turned toward the door. Wait. Nathan heard the impatience in his own voice and disliked it. Emily stopped. You are telling me $10,000 means nothing to you? I did not say that. Then why refuse it? Emily glanced toward the main dining room, where another table was waiting for service. Because needing money and letting a stranger decide what your commitments are worth are two different things. Nathan's expression tightened. It is one job. To you. You carry plates. The words left his mouth before he considered them. Silence followed. Emily did not flinch. She simply looked at him, and Nathan suddenly heard how the sentence sounded. Yes, she said. Tonight I carry plates. Then she walked away. Nathan watched through the open doorway as she crossed the dining room. A young server named Megan stood near the register, staring anxiously at a receipt. Emily stopped beside her. They spoke quietly. Megan pointed toward a table, then toward the check. Emily studied it, tapped one line with her finger, and showed her how two entrees had been entered twice. The correction took less than a minute. No manager. No embarrassment. Megan exhaled with relief. Later, Emily noticed a leather wallet beneath an empty booth. She picked it up, checked the table number, and hurried toward an older couple waiting near the coat check. The man accepted it with visible surprise. He opened it, looked inside, then offered Emily several bills. She shook her head and stepped away before he could insist. Nathan saw all of it. Still think everyone has a price? One executive asked. Nathan lifted his coffee. It had already gone cold. Everyone does. But the answer sounded less convincing now. At 11:20, the private dinner ended. Nathan's associates left first. He remained behind while the staff cleared the room. Emily entered with a tray. The blank check was still on the table. She picked it up carefully and held it toward him. You forgot this. Keep it. No. Consider it a tip. A blank signed check is not a tip. Nathan almost smiled. You really refuse everything. No. I refuse things that come with unclear terms. That sentence caught him. You think everything is a negotiation? You do. Emily placed the check beside his phone. I am just making sure you notice. Nathan studied her. What question should I have asked? For the first time, Emily hesitated. Then she said, not how much it would take to make me leave. Then what? Ask why I stay. Nathan looked at the black apron tied around her waist, then at the woman wearing it. Before he could respond, Emily lifted the tray and walked toward the kitchen. Nathan remained alone beneath the warm chandelier, staring at a check large enough to change many people's month and a question he suddenly wanted answered. Why did she stay? By Saturday afternoon, Nathan had asked himself the same question often enough to become irritated by it. Why did she stay? He was standing in his 38th floor office overlooking Midtown Manhattan when the words returned again. Below him, traffic moved through narrow streets like lines on a financial chart. Behind him, 3 executives waited around a walnut conference table for his decision on a $70 million acquisition. Nathan read the final page, checked his Swiss watch, and signed. For minutes. That was how long he needed. He had built Cole Strategic Holdings by making decisions before other people finished worrying about them. At 39, he controlled investments across technology, logistics, and commercial real estate. Business publications called him decisive. Competitors called him ruthless. Nathan preferred efficient. Anything else? He asked. His chief operating officer, Marcus Reed, closed the folder. Dinner last night. Nathan looked up. Marcus had been one of the 3 executives at Bellamy House. What about it? You lost. There was no competition. You offered a waitress $10,000 to prove everyone has a price. She handed your check back. That sounds like losing. Nathan walked toward the window. She did not prove anything. Then why are you still thinking about her? Nathan gave him a look that ended the conversation. But Marcus was right about one thing. Nathan had spent years testing people. It had begun after his first major company sale, when people who had ignored his calls suddenly remembered his birthday. Old acquaintances appeared with business ideas. Distant friends needed loans. Invitations multiplied with his net worth. Nathan eventually stopped asking whether people liked him. He asked what they wanted. Money made the answer arrive faster. He brought that philosophy into business. Candidates were tested with uncomfortable choices. Partners were offered incentives that exposed their priorities. Nathan believed pressure revealed character. He had rarely been wrong. Emily Carter irritated him because she had not behaved according to the pattern. At 6:40 that evening, Nathan's driver stopped outside Bellamy House. Nathan remained in the back seat for several seconds. Meeting, sir? The driver asked. Dinner. Nathan entered alone. No executives. No private room. The hostess recognized him immediately and offered his usual table. Actually, Nathan said, scanning the dining room. Somewhere in the main room. Emily was serving a family near the windows. She noticed him but showed no surprise. 10 minutes passed before she approached. Good evening, Mr. Cole. Emily, will anyone be joining you? No. She handed him a menu. Sparkling or still water? Nathan almost laughed. You are really going to pretend last night never happened? I am going to take your order. And if I came back for an answer? Emily's expression remained neutral. Then you should probably order something first. Management prefers customers who eat. Nathan ordered steak, roasted potatoes, and black coffee. Emily wrote it down and turned away. 10,000 was too low, he said. She stopped. Nathan reached inside his jacket and placed a small envelope on the table. 25,000. Emily looked at the envelope but did not touch it. You came back to increase the offer? I came back because I dislike unfinished experiments. I am not an experiment. Everyone is, under the right conditions. Emily considered him for a moment. That sounds lonely. The answer landed differently than he expected. Nathan's smile faded. $25,000 could change a person's year. Yes, but not yours. Of course it could. Then take it. Emily placed her order pad against the table. You still think refusing means I do not understand money. What else should I think? That I understand it well enough not to confuse it with freedom. Nathan leaned forward. What does that mean? Emily glanced toward her other tables. It means money can give you choices. But if someone else decides what you must abandon to receive it, that choice belongs partly to them. Nathan looked at the envelope. So, I am still asking the wrong question. Yes. And you still will not tell me why you stay. Emily's gray-blue eyes held his. Not while you are trying to purchase the answer. She walked away. Nathan sat motionless as conversations moved around him. For years, money had shortened every conversation he wanted resolved. With Emily, every additional dollar seemed to make the distance between the question and the answer wider. Nathan left the $25,000 envelope on the table until Emily returned with his steak. She set the plate down, noticed the envelope had not moved, and reached for his empty coffee cup. You are persistent, she said. I have been called worse. I am sure you have. Nathan watched her refill the cup. 50,000. Emily stopped pouring. Excuse me. $50,000. Tomorrow morning. Cashier's check. No blank check. No unclear terms. You resign tonight, and the money is yours. Emily placed the coffee pot down carefully. You doubled it while I was getting your dinner? I told you. I dislike unfinished experiments. And I told you I am not one. Nathan lowered his voice. Then help me understand. Emily looked around the dining room. Saturday night conversations filled the space beneath amber chandeliers. A server passed carrying wine glasses. Near the windows, a couple celebrated a birthday beneath a small candle. Nothing about the room suggested that $50,000 had just been placed between a billionaire and a waitress. What exactly are you trying to prove? Emily asked. That everyone has a number. Why does that matter so much to you? Nathan hesitated. Because people lie about principles until the incentive becomes large enough. And money tells you the truth. Usually. Emily pulled the order pad from her apron and wrote something. Nathan expected a number. Instead, she tore off the small sheet and placed it beside his plate. One sentence. What are you measuring? Nathan read it twice. I am measuring what it takes for you to leave. No. You are measuring how much money I would accept to follow your instruction. Same thing. Not even close. Emily pointed toward the envelope. Suppose I accept $50,000 because my family needs it. You decide I valued my job at $50,000. Suppose I refuse because leaving without notice would hurt people who depend on me. You decide I cannot be bought. Either way, you create the meaning after I choose. Nathan looked at her. Then tell me the meaning. That is the part you never ask about. Her voice stayed calm. You test the decision, but you ignore the reason. Nathan leaned back. Fine. What reason would make you take it? Plenty. And what reason makes you refuse? Emily's expression shifted slightly. He noticed it because everything else about her remained controlled. That answer is not for sale. Nathan exhaled. You keep turning this into philosophy. You turned it into philosophy when you said everyone has a price. She picked up the coffee pot. I am only checking your math. For the first time that evening, Nathan laughed without mockery. You are very confident for someone refusing $50,000. Emily's eyes narrowed just enough to change the temperature between them. There. You did it again. Did what? You assumed the size of your offer should determine the size of my reaction. Nathan's smile disappeared. Emily continued. $50,000 is a lot of money. I know exactly how much it could pay for. That does not mean I owe it control over me. Nathan looked at the Swiss watch on his wrist, then at the woman standing beside his table. So everyone does not have a number. I did not say that. Then what are you saying? Emily paused. Maybe everyone has a number. But you keep confusing a person's number with their value. The sentence settled between them. Nathan had heard consultants deliver presentations that cost more than Emily might earn in a year. None had made him this uncomfortable with 13 words. Emily turned to leave. Wait. She looked back. Tomorrow night, Nathan said. 50,000. Real cashier's check. No audience. No executives. Just you and me. Why? Because I want to know whether your answer changes when the test is real. Emily studied him for several seconds. Bring it if you want. Nathan raised an eyebrow. You will consider it? No. Then why should I bring it? Emily glanced at the untouched envelope beside his plate. Because maybe seeing $50,000 fail will finally make you curious about something money cannot answer. She walked away before Nathan could respond. His steak cooled in front of him. For the first time in years, the billionaire found himself looking forward to losing an argument. Sunday evening, Nathan arrived at Bellamy House at 7:40 with a cashier's check for $50,000 inside his jacket. He had expected the amount to feel ridiculous once he entered the restaurant. Instead, it felt strangely small. Emily was already moving between tables, her black apron tied neatly over a white shirt, balancing 3 plates while answering a question from a young server near the kitchen doors. Nathan took the same table as the night before. Emily noticed him, then noticed the envelope when he placed it beside his coffee. You actually brought it. I said I would. That does not make it a good idea. It makes it a real test. Emily gave him a look that suggested he had learned nothing. Your usual? She asked. Nathan nodded. For the next 30 minutes, she barely spoke to him. That gave him time to watch. Near the service station, Megan, the young server Emily had helped Friday night, was staring at a printed tip report with a worried expression. Emily joined her. They compared receipts, then called over the floor manager. No raised voices. No accusations. Emily simply pointed to several entries where large party gratuities had been assigned incorrectly. The manager checked the system, frowned, and corrected the distribution. Megan's shoulders relaxed. Later, an impatient customer complained that his reservation had been recorded for the wrong time. The host became flustered. Emily stepped in, found an open table near the window, and offered the customer coffee while it was prepared. Within minutes, frustration became gratitude. Nathan watched the pattern. She never competed for attention. She solved the problem and disappeared from it. When Emily finally brought his dinner, he tapped the envelope. 50,000. I remember. Sit for 1 minute. I am working. Then stand. Emily sighed, but stayed. Nathan pushed the envelope toward her. No trick. No audience. No hidden condition except the one we discussed. Resign tonight, and it is yours. Emily looked down at the cashier's check. This time her expression changed. Not temptation. Calculation. She read the amount, the issuing bank, and Nathan's name. Then she looked toward the dining room. You want an answer? Yes. Emily slid the check back. No. Nathan expected satisfaction at finally confirming what he already knew about her. Instead, he felt disappointed. You did not even think about it. I have been thinking about it since Friday. Then explain. Emily glanced toward Megan, who was now serving a table with renewed confidence. Your test assumes my decision begins and ends with me. Does it not? No. She nodded toward the restaurant. Megan is working double shifts while finishing community college. Our floor manager has been covering for an employee whose mother is recovering from surgery. 2 people called out this weekend. If I disappear because a stranger offered me money, somebody else carries what I drop. Nathan looked around the room differently. Until that moment, he had seen employees. Emily saw relationships. So loyalty is your answer? Responsibility is part of it. You still want one simple reason because simple reasons are easier to price. Nathan leaned back. You talk about incentives like someone who studies them. Emily's face became unreadable. Nathan noticed. There it is. What? Every time I get close to asking who you are outside this restaurant, you close the door. Emily reached for his empty water glass. Maybe you have not earned the key. Before she could leave, Megan approached holding another receipt. Emily, can you check this? Emily scanned it. The gratuity is calculated after the promotional credit. It should be based on the original subtotal. Megan blinked. How did you see that so fast? Because systems tell you what they reward if you pay attention. Nathan's eyes narrowed. The sentence sounded less like restaurant experience and more like something from one of his strategy meetings. Emily handed the receipt back and turned toward him. He was smiling now, but not because he thought he had won. What? She asked. Nathan glanced at the rejected $50,000 check. I think I finally understand what bothers me about you. That sounds promising. You are not refusing because you do not understand the game. He paused. You understand it better than I do. Emily held his gaze for one quiet second. Then maybe, she said, tomorrow you should stop testing me and start listening. Monday evening, Nathan returned to Bellamy House without a check. Emily noticed that before she noticed anything else. He sat at the same table, ordered black coffee, and placed nothing beside the cup. No envelope, no business checkbook, no challenge waiting beneath his hand. When Emily approached, she looked at the empty table. You forgot something. I am trying something new. That sounds dangerous. Listening. A small smile touched her face. Very dangerous. Nathan waited until she finished taking his order. You said yesterday that I should stop testing you. I remember. So I have one question. Emily raised an eyebrow. Only one. For now. Go ahead. Nathan folded his hands. Why do you stay? Emily's expression changed, but she did not retreat this time. She looked toward the dining room, then back at him. I will answer if you answer one question first. Another test. One question for one question. Equal terms. Nathan smiled. Fine. Emily set her order pad against her apron. If tomorrow morning nobody knew your last name, your company, your bank account, or your net worth, how would you convince this room that you mattered? Nathan's smile remained for half a second too long. Then it disappeared. That is your question? Yes. I build a company employing thousands of people. Your company is gone from the question. I make decisions worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Your job is gone too. Nathan leaned back. You are removing everything I have accomplished. No, I am removing the labels attached to it. Emily's voice stayed gentle. You asked me why I stay because you believe this apron must be hiding the person I was supposed to become. I am asking who you are when the suit cannot answer for you. Nathan looked down at his charcoal jacket. For years, introductions had been effortless. Founder, chairman, billionaire investor. Those words entered rooms before he did. Without them, what remained? I work hard, he said finally. Emily nodded. Good. I keep my word. Better. I am responsible for people who depend on my decisions. Now we are getting somewhere. Nathan looked at her. You are enjoying this. A little. He laughed quietly. Then his expression became serious. I would tell them I built something from nothing. Emily shook her head. You are still using achievement as identity. What is wrong with achievement? Nothing. But you asked me to leave my job for money because you assumed the job was separate from my values. Now you are telling me your work proves yours. Nathan opened his mouth, then stopped. The contradiction was clean. He had nowhere to hide it. Emily reached for the coffee pot. You wanted to know whether everyone has a price. Maybe you should first ask whether everyone knows what they refuse to sell. Nathan watched the dark coffee fill his cup. And what do you refuse to sell? My right to decide what my responsibilities mean. That still does not tell me why you are here. You have not answered my question yet. Nathan looked around Bellamy House. Servers moved between tables. A host greeted a couple near the entrance. Nobody seemed interested in him. For once, he imagined entering the room without anyone recognizing his face. No driver outside. No office above Manhattan. No headlines. Just Nathan. I do not know, he said. Emily stopped. He surprised himself more than her. I do not know how I would prove I mattered without talking about what I own or what I built. Emily's expression softened. Not pity. Respect. That is an honest answer. I dislike it. Honest answers are often inconvenient. Nathan smiled faintly. Your turn. Emily became quiet. Why do you stay? He asked. She looked toward Megan, then toward the kitchen doors. Because leaving is easy when you only count what you are leaving behind for yourself. Nathan waited. Emily continued. I had another life planned once. Different work, different clothes, different mornings. What happened? Her fingers tightened slightly around the coffee pot. Life changed the schedule. Nathan heard the boundary and did not push through it. And you stayed here because people needed you. Emily met his eyes. Partly. What is the other part? She lifted the coffee pot and stepped back. That is tomorrow's question, Mr. Cole. Nathan glanced at his Swiss watch out of habit, then lowered his wrist before reading the time. Emily noticed. Neither of them mentioned it. Tuesday evening, Nathan arrived 10 minutes later than usual and found Emily serving a table near the windows. She noticed him, finished pouring water for an older couple, then approached with the same calm expression that had unsettled him all week. Tomorrow's question, Nathan said before she could offer a menu. Emily looked at him. You remembered. I spent most of today trying not to. That sounds productive. Nathan almost smiled. You said you had another life planned. Emily glanced toward her section. Coffee first. Black. Some things never change. When she returned, Nathan did not rush her. That was new. Emily set the cup down, adjusted the handle, and remained beside the table. I studied business analytics, she said. Nathan's eyes lifted. Where? New York University. For how long? 3 years. Nathan looked at the black apron tied around her waist, then immediately disliked himself for doing it. Emily noticed anyway. There it is again. I know. At least you are getting faster at catching it. Nathan leaned back. What happened? Emily rested one hand lightly against the back of the empty chair opposite him. My father managed a small hardware store in Queens. He was good with customers and terrible with paperwork. My mother died when I was 19, so it was mostly him, my younger brother, and me. She paused. During my 3rd year, my father developed serious health problems. He could not keep working full-time. My brother was still in high school. Nathan said nothing. Emily continued. Tuition was expensive. Rent did not care about our plans. Groceries did not either. Bellamy House offered evening shifts, good tips, and enough flexibility for me to handle appointments during the day. So you left school. I postponed it. For 6 years, Emily's expression remained steady. Life does not always return things on the schedule you prefer. Nathan lowered his eyes. I am sorry. Do not be. Why not? Because I am not telling you this so you can feel sorry for me. Her voice was gentle but firm. My father needed someone. My brother needed stability. I made a choice. A choice you should not have had to make. Maybe, but it was still mine. Nathan looked at the coffee between them. And your father? Better now? He works a few mornings each week. My brother graduates from college this spring. A quiet pride entered her face. Nathan finally understood why $50,000 had failed. Emily had spent years measuring money against responsibilities far more complicated than his experiment. You could go back, he said. I could. Why have you not? Emily smiled faintly. Because that is not the same question as why I stayed. Nathan waited. I stayed because for a while, staying was the most useful thing I could do. Then something strange happened. I became good at this place. I learned people, not customer service. People. She nodded toward the dining room. You learn who becomes generous when nobody is watching, who apologizes to the person with less power, who blames someone else for a mistake, who treats kindness like weakness. A restaurant is a very honest classroom. Nathan glanced around the room. He had eaten in places like Bellamy House hundreds of times and never considered what the person carrying his plate might be learning about him. So you never stopped studying. I stopped paying tuition. Nathan laughed softly. Emily did too. Then her expression became serious. I did not fail to become someone, Mr. Cole. Life simply asked me to become someone else first. Nathan felt the sentence settle somewhere deeper than the others. He had spent days trying to discover the hidden explanation that would make Emily exceptional. A prestigious degree, a secret career, some proof that she was more than a waitress. Now he understood the insult inside that search. Emily did not need a hidden title to justify her intelligence. I owe you an apology, he said. For the check. For assuming there had to be something behind the apron before I could respect the person wearing it. Emily studied him quietly. That is better. Better than what? $50,000. She picked up the coffee pot and turned toward another table. Nathan watched her walk away, then looked at his Swiss watch. This time he read the time. Not because he wanted the evening to move faster, but because he suddenly understood how many years Emily had spent giving hers to other people. Wednesday morning, Nathan walked into Cole Strategic Holdings carrying Emily's question with him. He had barely reached his office when Marcus Reed followed with a blue folder marked Northbridge Logistics. Investment. Committee meets at 10, Marcus said. Everything is ready. Nathan opened the folder. Cole Strategic Holdings was considering a major investment in Northbridge, a regional shipping company expanding across the Northeast. Revenue was climbing. Margins looked strong. The recommendation was unanimous. Nathan would normally have reviewed the summary, asked 3 questions, and approved it before lunch. Then he noticed a yellow note clipped behind the final page. Junior analyst concern. Vendor concentration may be understated. Nathan looked up. Who wrote this? Marcus glanced at the note. Evan Brooks. First-year analyst. Why is it behind the recommendation? Because the senior team reviewed it and considered it immaterial. Nathan felt something familiar in those words. Did Evan present his analysis? No. Why not? Marcus shrugged. He is 24. He has been here 8 months. Nathan stared at him. A week earlier, that answer would have sounded reasonable. Now he saw a black apron, a rejected check, and gray-blue eyes asking a question he had not been able to escape. Bring Evan to the meeting. At 10:15, Evan Brooks entered the conference room looking as if he expected to be told he had made a mistake. 12 senior executives sat around the table. Nathan pointed toward an empty chair. Sit. Explain your concern. Evan opened his laptop with unsteady hands. Northbridge reports that no single vendor represents more than 9% of operating expenses. But 3 of its largest maintenance suppliers share the same mailing address and registered agent. Marcus frowned. That was reviewed. Evan nodded. Yes, sir. But if those suppliers are related, the actual concentration could be closer to 26%. Nathan leaned forward. What happens if they raise prices? Northbridge loses much of the margin improvement we are paying for. Can you prove they are related? Not yet. Nathan heard Emily's voice in his mind. You test the decision, but you ignore the reason. Then we do not dismiss it, he said. We verify it. The room became quiet. Nathan postponed the vote for 48 hours and ordered an independent review. By Wednesday afternoon, the answer arrived. Evan had been right. The 3 suppliers were controlled by members of the same family through separate companies. Nothing illegal, nothing dramatic. Just a concentration risk buried beneath technically accurate percentages. Cole Strategic Holdings renegotiated the proposed investment terms before proceeding. The change protected the firm from paying a premium based on margins that were less secure than they appeared. At 6:30, Nathan returned to Bellamy House. Emily approached his table carrying black coffee. You look pleased with yourself. A little. That is usually dangerous. Nathan told her about Evan. Not confidential details. Just enough. A junior analyst. A concern. Senior people who had decided his title was smaller than his question. Emily listened. And you let him speak? I did. Was he right? Yes. Nathan paused. We almost made an expensive decision because everyone in the room trusted rank more than evidence. Emily set down the coffee pot. That sounds familiar. Painfully. Nathan looked at her. I kept thinking about what you said. About the apron. Emily waited. If Evan had been a managing director with 20 years of experience, nobody would have buried his note behind the recommendation. So what changed? I asked myself whether I would listen to him if he were wearing my suit. Emily's expression softened. And I realized that was the wrong standard too. Nathan looked around the restaurant. Evidence does not become smarter because the person presenting it has a better title. Emily smiled. Now you are listening. Nathan reached inside his jacket. Emily's eyes immediately narrowed. If that is another check, I am charging you for the coffee pot. He laughed and placed his empty hand back on the table. No check. Good. But I owe you something. You already apologized. Not money. Not an apology. Nathan's voice became quieter. Credit. Emily shook her head. I did not find the Northbridge problem. No. You found mine. For once, Emily had no quick answer. Nathan lifted his coffee. Tomorrow night, I want to bring you something. Not a test. What is it? A choice. Emily studied him carefully. Those can be more expensive than checks. Nathan nodded. I am finally beginning to understand that. Thursday night, Nathan arrived at Bellamy House, carrying 2 envelopes. Emily saw them before he reached his usual table. You promised me a choice, not another experiment. It is a choice. Why are there 2 envelopes? Nathan sat down. Because one of them belongs to the man who walked in here last Friday. Emily placed a cup of black coffee in front of him. And the other? That one belongs to the man who had to admit he was wrong. After her section slowed, near 10:30, Emily returned. Nathan placed the first envelope on the table and removed the original blank check he had offered her 6 nights earlier. Emily recognized his signature immediately. You kept it. I kept thinking it proved something. Nathan tore the check in half and set the pieces beside his coffee. Turns out it did. Emily raised an eyebrow. What? That I was asking the wrong question. He pushed the second envelope toward her. This is not money for leaving Bellamy House. It is an invitation to interview for a junior strategy analyst position at Cole Strategic Holdings. Emily did not touch it. An interview? Yes. Not a guaranteed job. You would meet with 3 people who do not know about the checks, complete the same case exercise as other candidates, and be evaluated under the same standards. Salary. Listed inside. Responsibilities? Also inside. And if I am not qualified? You do not get the job. Emily finally picked up the envelope. Nathan smiled faintly. That was the answer I hoped for. You should stop hoping for answers before I give them. Fair. She opened the envelope and read slowly. Nathan did not interrupt. The role included research, risk analysis, competitive intelligence, and strategic review. The salary was strong but not absurd. There was tuition assistance after the probation period. Emily stopped at that line. You added this for me. No. Human Resources already offers education assistance. I checked. She looked at him. You checked. I am trying to learn the difference between opening a door and carrying someone through it. Emily returned to the page. And Bellamy House? That is your decision. What if I say no? Nathan looked at the torn check. Then I finally learned the answer. To what? Whether everything has a price. Emily waited. Nathan continued. You taught me that money can create options without creating ownership. I did not understand the difference. She folded the letter carefully. And if I interview and fail? Then you walk back into this restaurant knowing you were evaluated for your work, not rescued from your apron. Emily's eyes softened. That is better. Better than $50,000? Much. Nathan laughed. Emily slid the offer into her apron pocket. I will interview. He looked surprised. That quickly? I did not say I would accept the job. Right. I said I would interview. You really enjoy correcting me. You give me opportunities. 3 weeks later, Emily entered Cole Strategic Holdings wearing a navy suit she had bought herself. She completed the case exercise, challenged an assumption in the market analysis, and asked more questions than Nathan expected. 2 days later, the hiring committee offered her the position without Nathan participating in the final vote. Emily accepted. She kept 2 weekend shifts at Bellamy House for the first month, partly for the income and partly because she refused to let a new title make her ashamed of the old one. Nathan never asked her to stop. On her first Monday at Cole Strategic Holdings, he passed her near a conference room where she was reviewing a report with Evan Brooks. She wore no apron. He wore no expression of surprise. Morning, Emily. Morning, Mr. Cole. Nathan glanced at the report. Anything I should worry about? Emily looked at Evan. He found it. Ask him. Nathan turned to the junior analyst. All right, Evan. What am I missing? Emily continued down the hallway before either man could thank her. Months earlier, Nathan would have believed that moment was about generosity. A billionaire noticing a waitress. A powerful man giving someone a chance. He knew better now. Emily had never needed him to decide what she was worth. She had needed him to stop assuming that he could. Nathan had spent years testing what money could buy. A waitress finally taught him what it could not.